The economic scorecard over here will help us have a feel of what the market looks like across the country, or even help us to narrow down the search on the potential location for new store. In the real world, data collected is not always granular, so running regression gives us a way to predict the relationship between number of retailer store and few economic factors. So here, if you input the population, let's say 1,000,000. Oh, it's 10 million. Okay, that's fine. And the median household income, 100 million. Then we will have the estimate of the number of retailer stock in this output box. And the graph below reveals the actual data and relationship in country level. You can see the very strong positive correlation between number of retailers and population here. And we can also view it by state. Let's say if I choose Colorado and the city Alamosa, for example. So we can see it like in Alamosa in Colorado, we only have one retailer store with the average population of 1,400,000 and the median household income is only 30,000. Moving on to the next scorecard is a geographic scorecard. This one looks at the competitive landscape in a very specific location and the area around that. So let's say if you want to open a new store near your home, let's say 20 Lane Avenue, Columbus, Ohio. Then it will give you the yield code for that location. And if you want to see the distance, the area with the radius around 20 miles around that location, just type up here and click this button to see the output. So we have 33 retailer stores within 20 miles radius around that area, and 10 of them are supermarket and the rest of them are discounters. And if you want to see the very specific brand of the retailer, you can click into that ribbon and it will show you, let's say if you want to see how many Target over there, just hit for output. So there will be 13 Target around that area. So this is all about the geographic scorecard. Okay. Tadi cái gì?
Part of the dashboard help us to have a deeper dive into different weather metrics for a specific retailer's location. There are 3 small sections to it. The first one is the summary of the weather metrics based on retailer's location. So the very first step is to go to the drop-down menus and to choose the list from the list of retailers. For example, I am interested in Target, and the drop-down below will populate the list of the list of states that have the Target store. For example, I am interested in Colorado, and I click into the updates data source that will have to populate the data corresponding to the state of Colorado. Okay, so we have the data now. If you go here, is the data for Colorado that is populated on the tab of weather state. When you go down, we have the drop-down menu to select a cities that will have the Target store in the state of Colorado. For example, I am interested in Denver, Colorado. I check if whether I have the data, and then we have the weather data for the cities. If we go down, and then there's a drop-down menu to choose different months. For example, I choose January, and then they will pop up the summary for Denver in Colorado for January. I click here and that will show the days with rains and the days with snow for Denver in Colorado for January. It is 15 days with rain and 6 days with snow. Another functionality for the summary of weather metrics is the comparison option. So there are 3 options here. For example, I choose the state. The option number 3, that will have to compare the average temperature or the weather metric for Denver in Colorado for January with the average weather metric for the whole state Colorado in the month of January. So, for example, the average temperature in in Denver would be 7 degrees hotter than the average temperature across the state of Colorado. So the second part of the weather section is to find top city with highest weather fluctuation. For example, we have 2 options here. Rank the cities by standard deviation in the weather temperature, or rank the cities by the range, which is the difference between the max and the mean temperature. We click here into the top 5, and that will pop up the list of the 5 cities according to the criteria 2. So if we go up, that is the last part of the weather. So this is the data showing the average number of retailers across 3 regions, cold, mild, and warm regions, and that is the data across the United States. If you go to the slicer here, you can go state by state, and that will show the average number of retailers per cities and the comparison by state. So the last part of the dashboard is the power map, and here's the icon when you click here, and that will show the power map. Okay.
Within the dashboard, one can go below to locate these 3 buttons that allow the user to visualize the data and explore maps. The first one is the economic report, where the information is filtered by state first, and then provides a list of cities in alphabetical order, showing the population as well as the median household income. At the end, we can also see the amount of different retailer locations in that city. In this map, we can filter by specific household income ranges to locate regions in the state where this is the average income. Going back, we can now explore the weather report, where we have the data filtered through regions first, and then displaying the past 12 months of average temperature, minimum temperature, and minimum maximum temperature. This provides the coldest temperatures throughout the year and can be compared relative to the average temperature to give information about the variability and relative weather or cold factor in this location. Here we can see the values of these curves. Finally, the interactive map visualization, again filtered by state, where here each point represents a city and it's scaled to size based on the amount of retailers. However, it also divides in a pie chart the different type of retailer. For example, Walmart, 5 locations in Colorado Springs, and Target, 4 locations there. One can also filter the specific retailer in that state and all the locations within the data.